Each time that you've left one of those programs, have you turned yourself in?
Yes, sir. My whole life. Anytime I've had a charge, I've always turned myself in.
Okay.
On this charge right here, I've turned myself in 3 times.
And have you ever failed to come to court?
No, sir.
Hey there, welcome to the Courtroom Files. So today we've got a curious case from Judge Wolf's court. This gentleman is here on a motion to have a bond granted, but he's currently being held on a probation violation. And this is interesting for 2 reasons for us. Number one, the defendant himself, he's an interesting guy. As you'll see, as you listen and watch this, he doesn't seem to have a problem turning himself in when he needs to. He just seems to have a problem doing what he's supposed to be doing with regards to his probation and the conditions placed upon him. That's really weird to us. We would think that if he didn't want to do the parts of probation, he'd probably not want to turn himself in either, but he seems happy to do that. And we also like this video because of Judge Wolf himself. We find his court to be one of the more educational ones. This is interesting because this isn't just a quick 30-second motion on a bond issue where the judge then goes granted or denied and they move on. There's actually a couple of witnesses that take the stand here. They talk about it, and the judge is very thorough at the end in his ruling as to why he finds the way he finds. So we like Judge Wolf a lot for that reason, and you can learn a lot from him. So we present it for that as well. Let us know what you think in the comments about this bond request and how the judge rules. Put a thumbs up on the video if you enjoy it. Consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, and let's roll the game film.
All right, this is Mr. Hussein's motion for bond.
Yes, sir.
Are you going to put on is the state ready on this motion?
Yes, Judge.
All right, Mr. Hussein, is he your witness?
Yes, sir. I'll call him for the limited
All
purposes.
right, raise your right hand and let's place you under oath.
Right away, you can feel the emotional appeal. He's trying to humanize himself. But here's the key question. Does personal hardship outweigh a history of not following court orders? Judges hear stories like this all the time. What matters is whether the facts back it up.
All right, Mr. Hossein, please, may I proceed, Your Honor? Please state your name for the record.
Timothy Randall Hossein.
Okay. And are you asking the court to grant you a release on your own recognizance or a reasonable bond?
Either one, yes, sir.
Okay. And if the court does allow you to leave jail and you're out on bail, where do you plan to live?
White Bluff, Tennessee, with
Okay.
my grandfather.
Okay. And is that in Dixon County?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's who I've worked for my whole life.
Okay. And you've spoken to him and he's
Yes, sir.
okay with you living with him?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And were you previously on poor terms with your grandfather?
I was at
Okay.
one point, but
Are you saying that that's been?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if you get out, do you plan to work?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What do you plan to do?
Do HVAC work for my grandfather. He owns his own HVAC company in White Bluff.
And regarding, there have been several occasions where you've left rehabilitation programs, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And was that in the context of you serving your community correction sentence?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And each time that you've left one of those programs, have you turned yourself in?
Yes, sir. My whole life. Anytime I've had a charge, I've always turned myself in.
Okay.
On this charge right here, I've turned myself in 3 times.
And have you ever failed to come to court?
No, sir.
Okay. When you turned yourself in, I guess, were you arrested, or did you come to the jail or contact your community corrections officer to turn yourself in?
When I first caught this charge, I turned myself in, and then when I went to Synergy, or when I went to Nashville jail to get these charges run concurrent with Dixon, they accidentally released me from Nashville. So I called my lawyer at the time, and he told me to turn myself back into Dixon, so I did. And then when I got kicked out of Synergy, I turned myself back in.
Okay. And then you also went to Hope Center?
Yes, sir.
Which location did you go to?
Dixon, Waverly, and Camden.
Right, and each one of those, you were discharged from those programs?
Right, to the next Hope Center.
Okay. And then you, ultimately, you turned yourself in after being discharged?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you ever failed to come to court?
No, sir.
Is there anything else that you want to tell the court about your situation?
At the moment, my fiance and my 1-year-old daughter, as of 2 days ago, got served a eviction notice. So I think before next 30 days, they'll be homeless. And so I'm trying to get out and get some kind of job to put them somewhere, at least until I get this case figured out. Whenever we do go back to court, they're really struggling right now. My aunt is supposed to be helping them, but I don't know. But yeah, I would like to at least be able to put them somewhere, or get them somewhere until I figure out what's going on in my case. But I've never had a problem with going to court. I've grown up in Dixon County, White Bluff, most of my life. I went to TCAT, got my HVAC license, TCAT, so I've got ties to the community. But other than that, no, sir, that's all I have for the court.
All right. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor. Actually, sorry. Do you think you can make a $5,000 bail?
I believe, yes, I think so. You're talking about 5,000 altogether, so 10%.
Where the payment is likely to a bail bond company would be around $500
Yes, sir.
or in that neighborhood?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
General Wojnarowski.
Mr. Hossein, this is not the first time that you've been on a suspended sentence, is this correct?
A suspended sentence?
Like probation?
I've been on parole.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
And you had a prior conviction for an aggravated burglary back in 2016, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And then on this case, back in March 7th of 2023, you pled to, it looks like, multiple counts of aggravated burglary and theft, and received sentence to community corrections that included the condition that you had to successfully complete synergy. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So when you entered your plea back in 2023, that was the agreement that you intended to comply with. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I don't have any further questions.
Thank you, sir. You may step down. Tommy, do you have any other questions, any other witnesses? All right. Statement, call your first witness.
Call Stephen Brown.
Step around, raise your right hand, and be placed under oath. See.
Are you Officer Stephen Browns with Mid-Cumberland Community Corrections?
Yes, I am.
And did you have Mr. Hossein on Community Corrections with you?
Yes, I did.
And was one of his conditions of his plea in 2023 to complete synergy?
Yes, it was.
Did he complete synergy?
No, we didn't.
Now, you have filed a violation of community corrections in September of 2024, alleging that he failed to complete synergy, Hope Center, Dixon, Hope Center, Camden, as well as Jack Jean. Tell us about these different treatment programs that he was in.
I was just, only thing I'm aware of is that he was court ordered to finish Synergy. He was dismissed for a disciplinarian issue, and then with Hope Center, he was all times he was changed was due to disciplinary issues. when I talked to Mr. Gann, who's the administrator of it, he said that there was the disciplinary issues, and they tried to get him out of that atmosphere and try again, and then he was ultimately dismissed from the whole Hope Center.
So once he was given an opportunity to go to Synergy, he was obviously given an opportunity to go to the Hope Center in 2 different locations,
Yeah.
as well as the Jack Jean Center, is that correct?
Mr. Gann told me he was at Jack Jean. I haven't found any documentation. That was
Okay.
in a conversation with Mr. Gann.
And during these opportunities that he had, did he ever successfully complete any of these treatment centers?
No, he has not.
Okay. And during that time period from September 17th until he was served with this warrant, December the 3rd, did he report to you?
He's contacted me on the phone, and then the last time when he was dismissed from Hope Center, he had contacted me on the phone and kind of was wondering what I was going to be doing, and I told him I'd violate him.
Okay.
And then he had asked about coming back on community corrections, and I said, well, it doesn't seem like it's going to be an option as you can't successfully complete your court order
Okay.
rehab.
So he did not report in person
No, it was
2
on the
times a
phone.
week like he's required to on when he's on community corrections, is that correct?
That's correct. He called me by phone. He said he was still in the area of wherever the last Hope Center was, and that he had family in Knoxville.
Okay, but as of that date in September 17th of 2024, when he had been discharged from all the treatment centers until December, he was not in jail, nor was he in contact with you other than by phone, is that
Just
correct?
by phone.
Okay. I don't have any further questions.
You have questions?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Was there ever a time when you scheduled a meeting with Mr. Hossein that he did not attend?
Well, I advised him on our last conversation that he needed a report, but he said he didn't have a vehicle.
And the basis of the violations in the petition that you filed are, it doesn't fault him for failing to report to you, correct?
No, it's failure to complete the rehab.
Okay. And each time that he's been discharged from rehab, he has contacted you to let you know what's going on.
I've only had him since last year, as he was under Mrs. Talley's supervision before me.
Okay. Do you have the records from his previous supervision?
Yes.
Okay. So are you aware of any failure on his part to promptly notify community corrections of his discharge from these programs?
I believe there was Miss Jenkins was also one of his. He reported from the intake. And no, I don't see anything from the other officers.
Do you have any other reason to believe that Mr. Hossein is not going to show up when he says he's going to show up?
There's no, I mean, he's, like I said, he's contacted me. He hasn't shown up though, when I asked him to come in. Like he contacted me on that last time when he was dismissed from
Okay.
Hub Center.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Anything further? Thank you, Mr.
Your
Manager.
Honor.
I'm going to step down. Statement, call your next witness.
No other witnesses, Your Honor.
Any rebuttal proof for the defendant, for the movement? You wish to be heard in argument?
Yes, briefly, Your Honor. We asked the court to note that Mr. Hossein is not accused of any new crimes here. He's simply accused of leaving a program that he was ordered to finish. He's not incurred any new offenses. And the weight of the evidence heard today is that he's likely to appear in court. It doesn't appear to be a problem of him not showing up to court when he's been told to. And also further, he was shown to have, when discharged from programs, generally tried to contact community corrections to let them know what was going on and get further instructions on what to do. So we asked the court to consider that in considering his request for a reasonable bond. Thank you, Your Honor.
Judge, I would argue that the evidence has actually shown that Mr. Hossein has had so many opportunities, obviously, allowed to go to multiple different treatment options when the sentence itself was to complete Synergy, and he didn't do that. I think the testimony by Officer Browns was also that he told Mr. Hossein to report. While it's not alleged in the violation of community corrections, it's certainly evidence for the court to consider at bond when he did not report to him in person and only contacted him by phone. So that's certainly evidence that, to me, and certainly I would expect to the court to show that he has a propensity to not show up for his meetings with his officers. So I would argue that he does not need to have a bond in this matter.
Violations of probation and violations of community corrections are different than a case where person has a presumption of innocence. They've been found, the defendant has been found guilty of a crime, and in this case, he has been found guilty of aggravated burglary, 9 counts of aggravated burglary, and according to the proof before me, in 2015 or 16, he had a conviction for burglary as well. So this was not his first rodeo, so to speak, and it was a situation where he was, in fact, found guilty of multiple counts of burglary and placed in community corrections. Community corrections differs from the regular probation in that it is actually a sentence to the Department of Corrections that's simply being allowed to be served in the community. It is a more strict and rigid type of probation, and one of the conditions at the time of the entry of this plea was that he complete Synergy, a long-term treatment program. That was in the judgment form that were entered in this case at the time of his plea. It was actually on the plea form that was entered at the time of his plea in this case. So as a result of that, the plea form that was entered in this case in March of 2023 said he was sentenced to 6 years Tennessee Department of Corrections, sentence suspended to community corrections with a condition to successfully complete long-term treatment program, parentheses, Synergy, in parentheses, must report within 48 hours of release. So by that, although this was heard by Judge Lockhart Mash and accepted by her, it was never envisioned that he would be released on community corrections until such time as he had successfully completed the Synergy program. Based upon those facts and the proof before me, clearly, there is a strong likelihood that he will be found to be in violation of his community corrections, because proof here is that he has not done what he was required to do at the time of sentencing before he could, or before he actually went on regular community corrections. As a result of that, I do not find it to be appropriate to grant a bond request, and therefore he will be held for his hearing on January the 27th. The motion for bond is respectfully denied.